The Cincinnati Bengals absolutely blistered the Baltimore Ravens 41-21. I'm not sure the score even does it justice. It was a bludgeoning from Jump Street. Now the Ravens were starting Josh Johnson at quarterback. He had to throw 40 times.
Stop making excuses for the Ravens.
Look, the Ravens have been decimated by injury. It's pretty
The
impressive.
Ravens were up 7-3, and I knew at that point Breech was like, "Oh boy, here we go." Is that
Joe
true?
Burrow finished the game 37-46 for 525 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. And he said after the game that yes, Don Martindale's comments about not putting him in the Hall of Fame, that he's not Aaron Rodgers, he heard them. And did it affect you? He said it didn't feel necessary, which is fair. And then asked, was it on your mind when you were chucking the ball down the field late in the fourth quarter when the game was over and you're coming off an ACL and there are defenders all over your knees? Maybe.
That's
Breech.
a slippery slope.
Breech, get your gloat on.
This was one of the most fun games I can remember watching in the past 20 years, because obviously playoff games are never fun. Rarely are the Bengals still in contention this late in the season. Definitely not over the past 5 years. And so watching this, I can tell you when I knew this game was over, and it was when Tyler Boyd caught a 68-yard touchdown pass early in the second quarter. And I just knew from there it was just going to be the coronation of Joe Burrow. And that's what this felt like. I mean, the Ravens had 1.5 healthy defensive backs. You knew there was no way they were going to be able to stop the Bengals. And Josh Johnson in a shootout, I mean, he tried, but this is like going to an actual shootout with a Twinkie and the other guy has like a machine gun. You're not winning in that situation. And this was just unbelievable. And this is, I've been talking about this, I think the past couple of weeks with the Bengals and what happened to Jamar Chase's production. He had a lot, 125 yards today. But the one thing Joe Burrow has done really well over probably the past 5 weeks is, defenses have been doing their best to kind of slow down what Jamar Chase is doing. And Burrow has been just, boom, I'm going to go to T. Higgins. Boom, I'm going to go to Tyler Boyd. He wasn't doing that so much the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. It was just all Jamar Chase. And it made sense. That's who your chemistry is with. That's the guy, where he's going to be. He knows where the ball is going to be. You guys connect. But now you can just see Burrow developing that same chemistry with Higgins and with Boyd. And that's what makes this Bengals offense even more scary. I'm not going to be crazy and say they're good enough. I'm not going to say this team is good enough to win a playoff game yet. But I might say that in 2 weeks.
They're not, when they won the national title, I mean, Jamar Chase was the leading receiver, but they also had this other fella named Justin Jefferson on the team. I mean, Burrow's thrown to Terrace Marshall, Thaddeus Moss, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, what a joke. But the point being is that I think Joe Burrow is good at distributing the football, and they've actually created an offense or calling an offense that caters to his skill set. And he doesn't lock on to somebody like Jamar Chase. He's throwing the ball all over the place. He's going to the guy who's open. And man, I mean, is this the best? If you said going forward, you have to pick a wide receiver group, you have to take one team's wide receiver, like top 3 wide receivers.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask Breech, this is the best Bengals wide receiver group, because there's Houshmandzadeh and Chad Ochocinco. Who else was part of that group, Breech?
There was like Peter Warwick then.
Who?
Peter Warwick was on the team. They had Rudy Johnson era. They had
Chris Henry.
Chris Henry, yeah.
This group is better than that group.
Yeah, I think
this group has more potential than that group.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah, that was my question. Is like I'm trying to think of what wide receiver groups in the NFL you would take over this if you were planning for 5 to 10 years.
Yeah,
I mean the Cowboys, I think, would probably be in the conversation.
No, because Gallup's contract's up, Cedric Wilson's contract's up. You have Amari Cooper and you have CeeDee Lamb. I'm taking
Boyd signed, Chase is on a rookie deal, and so is Higgins.
I mean, I'm taking the Bengals. I'm just trying to think of other names so I don't look like a homer, and you guys don't look like.
Oh yeah, now you don't look like a homer.
You're not agreeing with me. You don't want to agree with me.
I'll say this, and I say it all the time about Justin Herbert. I was wrong about T. Higgins. I got talked into not believing what I saw, and that's a lesson learned. He's a grown man.
T. Higgins won me my fantasy game in a semifinal. The other guy had Devontae Adams. T. Higgins put up like 32 points. Thanks, T. And the other thing was the crazy thing is that I think it was Florio that reported that John Harbaugh was apparently upset that the Bengals were still throwing the ball in the fourth quarter. John Harbaugh, the guy who literally called a run play with 10 seconds left in a win that
Did you
his
see what
team
John
couldn't
Harbaugh
lose
said?
to keep a streak going. What?
Harbaugh, Flores is wrong. Harbaugh was not mad at all.
No. Harbaugh that said privately he was upset.
Oh, okay. I thought he tweeted something. Anyway, whatever. So yeah, the Bengals dominated, and the question is that? I mean, is that the? I mean, obviously that's the kind of win you want over your division rival. And Joe Burrow has obliterated the Ravens this year. He looks like there's a little bit of Big Ben to him. I think in the sense that not physical play or how he acts, just the chip on his shoulder to get division rivals. Maybe a little Aaron Rodgers-ish too. I mean, he clearly has a chip on his shoulder and had it in college. And the other thing that Burrow has, which is why he's probably still back to number 2 in terms of guys that you want, and you only take, when you're doing a draft, it's Mahomes and Joe Burrow.
Wait, what?
I take him over Herbert.
All right.
Who are you taking?
Breech wouldn't take him over Hurt, but okay. He won't say that out loud.
What?
Burrow looks
Burrow
awesome.
over everyone.
Burrow's been awesome every time he's been healthy. He just tore his ACL. I mean, he's probably going to win comeback player of the year now. He wore a happy holidays rolling into the
and he threw for 525 yards, as Brinson mentioned. That was the 4th most in NFL history. That is bonkers. And as Brinson also mentioned, he dominated the Ravens. 941 yards in 2 games against the Ravens this year. That is the most ever for one quarterback against the same opponent in the same season. Broke the record held by Joe Montana, who did against the Falcons, and Dan Marino.
I will say this to defend you, Breech, and even you, Benson, a little bit. When Joe Burrow was drafted, I remember having this conversation with Pete Prisco and Brady Quinn, and I said I would take Joe Burrow over Trevor Lawrence, who still had a year to go in college. And they were both like, nah, I don't know about that, just because Joe Burrow was that good at LSU. And clearly, I don't think anyone's taking Trevor Lawrence. Like, you have to win a game tomorrow over Joe Burrow, maybe over the long term. But I can certainly get behind the argument. And Joe Burrow has played well. He had at least
Josh
one.
Allen could be the number 2 there too, by the way.
That's a good conversation to have.
Yeah.
So, Breech, we talk about it every so often, not every week, but I saw the one boneheaded play, the interception in the end zone that was called back because of DPI. Were there any other ones that gave you pause, or has he minimized those mistakes?
I thought this was probably Burrow's, best game of the season, as numbers suggest. I also thought it was Zach Taylor's best game of the season, which arguably says more, because he could have said, you know what, we're going to stick with our offense. We're going to run, and set up Burrow for the pass. But he was like, no, the Ravens have no secondary right now, and we are going to be a pass-first offense today. And those are the things you want to see from the head coach. You want to see them kind of, obviously Bill Belichick does that every week, where he adjusts to what his opponent has or what they're doing. And you get these, super in-depth game plans that take advantage of that. And that really felt like what the Bengals did in this game, where, if we have to throw it 50 times, that's what we're going to do, because the Ravens' weakness right now is the backside of their defense. So,
backside.
I thought that Burrow and
Zach Taylor's his name.
Burrow and Zach Taylor are both. No, I forgot. I was looking at McPherson missing a field goal. I forgot about that.
Is that like Zach Taylor having a good game? Is that like saying Mike McCarthy did an awesome job beating up Washington football team?
No, because Baltimore's a better team than Washington, so I don't think that's fair to say. And I would say that Zach Taylor has gotten better as a coach as the season has gone on. I feel like he's making a lot smarter decisions, and that's what you want to see when you're in playoff contention and this team only needs one more win to clinch the AFC North. So, I just thought the Bengals, this was one of their better games. You want to see, anytime you see 4 receivers go over 70 yards, that's insanity.
You're laying the groundwork for when Zach Taylor gets that extension, so you can defend it. Got it.
Well, I will say, though, that this doesn't tell you anything about how the Bengals might match up with the Chiefs, just because the Ravens, this was a game that the Bengals had to win. You're playing a decimated Ravens team at home. You can't afford to lose it. And they did it. They took care of business by 20 points. That's what they had to do, and that's what they did.
No one, I don't think, thought they were losing this game. Like, this wasn't one of those trap games.
I think once Josh Johnson was
right.
That's quarterback was probably, because it got up to like 7 or something like that. I would just say that, again, back to my point on Burrow, he has just a killer instinct. And like, no offense to Andy Dalton, I know we dunk on him all the time on the show, but like Andy Dalton won a bunch of football games at both the college and professional level. Andy Dalton doesn't scare me when I get to the playoffs. You know who scares me if my team's going up against him? Joe Burrow. He's won a title in the regular in the regular season, and he's won a title in college, and he's shown that he can win these big games, even against decimated.
He couldn't beat out Dwayne Haskins. That's all I'm saying.